Welcome back, Panther fans. I'm here with Ryan Graham.
Hey, y'all.
Tim Thurber.
Hello.
The illustrious Ben Moore.
What's going on?
And this is State of Atlanta. Did you get your little Capri Sun there? A little water there,
Brian.
Wow, Ben.
You can call me whatever you want, Dave. It doesn't.
Come on,
just don't call me late for dinner, right?
Hey, there you go. Well, welcome everybody. Good week. Basketball is over and done with. We don't have to worry about that for an entire off season. So that's a good thing, right?
Total mixed bag there. Glad it's done, but wish it weren't, right?
We can all become Kennesaw. Never mind.
Turns out March didn't matter. I mean, we talked about this, I guess, last time, but March didn't matter at all because we didn't play.
That's what I wanted to hit Ben with first. Ben, every single time someone complained about a bad game or performance, you said all that matters is 3 games in March. Well, this team did not play a game in March. So were you right, or were you technically right, or were you completely wrong about this team?
No, it's I think there was a litany of things, and we can break it all down, and Brady and I and Jordan and Dave were talking. David Summons was talking. Really how to write this obituary, or how we kind of come through it. And I think he's done, Brady's done a great job jumping on the boards and kind of dissecting pieces of it. The biggest thing that I went back in, and I'm a stat nerd, y'all know that. I love looking at stats and looking at, efficiencies and PER and a bunch of other stuff, kind of advanced analytics and things that are way too nerdy for the majority of our fans. But I mean, the bottom line for this roster is when you take the seniors, the super seniors that you lost in Corey Allen, Justin Roberts, and Eliel Sasemi, and you're looking at all these guys that were the heart and soul, and more importantly, played a ton of minutes. There wasn't a huge rotation for Rob Lanier last year in that NCAA tournament game. Obviously, what happened, to Big E in the Gonzaga hurting his knee, and the foul trouble, and all of a sudden Chin-Ho Ma was playing center at times against 7-footers. Like, it was just completely ridiculous. But you anticipate certain guys to take steps forward, right? You want to say, all right, so, hey, guys like Evan Johnson, who was coming off the bench, playing point guard, he had moments this year, but he also struggled a lot. His shot selection was bad. He wasn't the three-point shooter he was the previous 2 years. He started turning the ball over a lot. And then it just got to the point where ultimately this team was one of the worst shooting teams I've ever seen at Georgia State. And I've been associated with the basketball program since 1999, and it was awful. And unfortunately, Jonas and his staff knew that, and they saw it, which was still the weirdest thing ever, because, again, Ryan was sitting right behind me when I took my 11-year-old to the Coastal Carolina game, and there was we hit 16 threes and scored 100 points, and I'm like, who is this team? Like, I'm getting texts during the game, like, what is happening? And what I kept saying is, listen, that's an outlier. It wasn't normal. Teams tend to play, especially even role players, tend to play better at home in basketball than they do on the road. So you had the road woes, you had the injuries, right? You had Evan Johnson with the shoulder. He missed the final 5, 6, whatever games it was. You had Colin Moore basically rip up his hand. And you saw, and I think that's the other side too, is you saw some development from Colin Moore that you're like, okay, that guy can play, right? That guy can play in the Sun Belt, average double digits, can shoot, can defend. And I'm glad, at least as of now, as we're recording this, he's still staying on the roster, and so is Jaheim Hudson. I mean, Jaheim had an up and down, season as well. And this is the difficult part ultimately when you have a new coach come in with 8 returning players also, right? You're looking at it and you're going, not all these guys are mine necessarily. They may or may not fit what I'm trying to do. So I think there was a good foundation built, even though from a win-loss point of view, it wasn't good. If you look at some of the defensive metrics for this team, they actually were pretty good at times. And they did force turnovers. They did defend. The toughest part about it is when you can defend well but can't score or can't shoot, it makes your defense that much worse, right? If we go back to football's analogy all the time. When we got to the point where our offense wasn't moving the ball, we couldn't run the ball, became one-dimensional, it made our offense worse. So the defense had that much more pressure to basically play a perfect game. I have to stop this team basically 9 out of 10 times. And that's where it got to a point. And I think ultimately the dam just broke. It was certainly disappointing. I know, Coach Hayes and his staff, they meet with the players as every Division I program does after the season and kind of map out what's next for them, if they fit, if they don't. And I put it on the boards as well to kind of clarify some things. Ultimately, it's the player's decision in many cases, but it's also aided by feedback from the coach to say, look, you may not have a spot here, or you're not going to start here. We're going to bring in impact players here, or, hey, this is the vision I have for you. So they can make a choice, right? They can say, hey, I'm going to go ahead and jump in the transfer portal. I'm going to try to get closer to home. I'm going to go different places and get on my way. We saw Khalik Brooks get honored. We saw Joe Jones get honored. There's a couple people on social media, not specifically naming names, who are, kind of getting up in their feelings about, certain guys. Joe Jones missed. I love the kid personally. I've got to know him over the last 5 years. Great kid, sweet kid. He's got family ties back in Buffalo. He has a young son. He's basically graduated from Georgia State. He had, basically major surgery on his foot. I tell people all the time, large guys, small bones. It's kind of a gamble. And then he missed over half the season this year as well. I hope that he goes pro in life and has a wonderful life and enjoys family and has obviously great connections with his older brother being Greg Oden, the former #1 draft pick. And I hope he's successful in whatever he chooses to do. And the same with any of the guys that left. I mean, Caleb Scott, I talked to his dad and him on his official visit. Guys, like Evan Johnson, great kid, got a chance to talk to him when he came out of Oak Hill. That's the toughest part about this, ultimately, where these scholarships are renewed annually, too. So at some point, too, coaches make a decision and say, look, you're not in the plans next year. It's probably best for you to jump on the portal.
All right. I think we got about 5 minutes left with Ben for that. So, Tim, Brian, you got
My
a question?
bad, boys.
Well, I don't have a
I'm
question.
long-winded. Y'all know this. This is why we do a podcast and not a radio interview.
Just going back to it, Coach was talking about how this is a defensively focused team.
Yep.
And I think that was like we can go back and look at that and say, look, if that was your goal accomplished. You actually did really well there. And so like we just need a couple of extra steps in the season to come, and there's a lot of space available. So recruiting can fill in these gaps, and we know what we need to make sure that we have the offense to balance that out a little bit. And like we don't need a ton. Like last time you were on, you talked about having 4 extra points per game. And we're all of a sudden, a little better than average.
Yeah,
right. And that's just 4 points. If we could have, 6 to 8 or whatever,
8.
That's a whole different ball game altogether. All of a sudden, we're back to the Georgia State that we expect to be. And I really like the defensive focus. That's fun to watch. So I'm excited to see what this team can be and how we fill in those gaps.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Quick update just for you guys, because I got about 1,000, tweet to text right now. So one of the guys that if you followed PT at all, that Jonas is chasing is Julian Mackey out of Northeastern Oklahoma, guy that prepped in high school, postgraduate here at the Skills Factory in Atlanta. He is they won their first round game. I had a chance to talk to him and his dad. His dad actually lives in Atlanta, Metro Atlanta, so he's here. Obviously, a big boost for Georgia State that way. He joked, called Jonas Hayes Bishop Hayes, so he sounds like a Southern Baptist preacher, which I said I absolutely could see that.
Sure.
And that was obviously made in jest, a little bit. But yeah, Julian had 21 points tonight for Neo, as they're known, and they won their first round playoff game. So he won't be visiting this weekend because he will be in the next round of the junior college playoffs. But he is definitely a top target guy that's 42% from 3, 6'4.5", and can absolutely shoot the crap out of the basketball. Two weeks ago, scored 40 and shot 7 for 9 from 3-point range. He is legit.
Yes, please.
Tim, you got something?
Yeah. Well, I'll take that transfer. Or is that a freshman transfer?
What transfer?
The guy you're just talking about.
That's Julian Mackey. So he started his career at Niagara and didn't really play a lot up there. Played, I think, 10 games, 8-10 minutes a game. Then transferred to Northeastern Oklahoma, or they call it Neo in the JUCO world. So he's over there now. And I mean, he's legit. He came out of high school probably 175, 180 pounds, and then he kind of each year got a little bit bigger, a little bit stronger. But he's a legit scorer, man. He's over 20 points a game. He'll probably be a JUCO All-American type. And if folks like our age remember, that's what Lefty Driesell used to do. He used to comb the junior college ranks, find the top JUCO guys, and then team them with transfers and build from there. I remind people a lot. I think Lefty only signed 3 high school players in his time here, just because let's be honest, he was 70 some years old, and he wasn't going to wait for some 17 or 18-year-old guy to develop.
That's an interesting stat.
Yeah, Donnie Davis, out of Collins Hill, Herman Favors out of Pace Academy, and Lamont McIntosh, of course, out of Redine. Shout out to Mac.
We're not doing Georgia State trivia right now, Ben. To pull these names.
Tim, I'm sorry. I think you tried to educate your viewers here. Sorry, I apologize.
Tim, you wasted your one question on who the hell he was talking about. So we're gonna. No.
Well, too bad.
Sorry.
Too bad. No, I was gonna say. So Odom's one of my favorite players on the team. Like, obviously, he's not so great at shooting threes. Do you see him improving year over year? Historically, did he shoot worse this year versus previous years at Xavier and before that? Because defenses are playing him soft, right? They're staying behind because they know he can't make it from 3, but he's got to improve to be able to make the defensive respect him, right?
Yeah, and it was a complaint from Xavier fans too. They wanted to see him shoot threes. The teams realized, certainly watching game film, right? Everybody watches game film on guys. They realize their strengths and weaknesses, and you saw teams basically back up. I think Dwan gets so much better if he has shooters around him, because he's able to take guys one-on-one. Also, too, we saw teams go into zone, because this is, again, statistically was one of the worst three-point shooting teams in the country. So why in the world would you go out and extend your zone to guard the three-point line other than just throwing a hand up because you're doing it and it's defense? Sure. The bigger issue I see is if this team adds 2 to 3 shooters, and Bashawn Ferguson, who is a incoming freshman, and I don't always like to put a ton of pressure on incoming freshmen. He's legit, and he's a shooter. He's 6'4.5". He's put together at about 190, 195 pounds. He is a scorer as well. He's comfortable 17 to 22 feet. He's going to be in the rotation. DK Manuel, who I talked about last time with you guys, who's 7'1", who shoots almost 40% from 3, which is just beyond my comprehension. I don't know how you guard someone like that exactly, because he can do stuff inside and outside. So if they go and sign 2 other shooters, you have to respect that, right? So Dwan gets guys one-on-one, and he's physical enough. Once he kind of dips his shoulder, he can get to the basket. And I think the bigger issue I think Georgia State fans really missed out is Dwan started dealing with knee issues. His left knee was really, really bothering him kind of starting in December, and you saw his explosiveness kind of get away from him. He can block shots. He can get off the floor with the quickness. He's a very physical kind of running back size guard. And I think once he kind of gets healthy and gets back going and has shooters at his disposal, I think you see all of his numbers continuing to improve, because I think he's a guy that could be legit 5.5, 6 assists a game and be an all Sun Belt caliber player with guys that can hit shots around him.
Even with the performance that Odom had this season, I think it's very obvious watching him play that he's the type of guy, if you had a legit 3-point shooter on the floor, that the team just can't guard him that well. Like you put a threat outside the 3-point line, and Dwan Odom's going to be able to make it inside and get those easy in the paint type points and everything. So you could see it. We just didn't have that threat.
We had one.
Yeah, and to be clear, he can get inside,
but not
or
he
can get the ball to the guy who can shoot from outside. Right,
right.
And that's the point.
Right. And I think you're also going to see this roster add some big men as well. Especially graduating, moving on, Joe Jones, Caleb Scott moving on as well, which hurt a little bit. Certainly, you're going to have big men added to this roster. Jonas wants a certain type of guy. You look at the first big men that he signed, out of the high school ranks. Edward Demoko is 6'10.5". Like he has, I believe, a very high ceiling. We knew walking in from his film, he was better defensively than offensively. So when you kind of get used to the speed of the game, he needs to get stronger. He needs to work on, obviously, his hands and his feet and all that kind of stuff. But you saw guys in our program in the last 8, 10, 12 years who were big men. Like, I look at a guy like Jordan Session and Jordan Tyson, guys that just developed 1 or 2 moves, like a go-to move, hook shot, left hand, right hand, and they were trouble inside. Eliel Sasemi was that. He got here from Cincinnati, was like a 4-point-a-game guy, and all of a sudden he's a double-double machine.
You gotta quit. You gotta quit bringing him up. It hurts David.
I know.
I love Big E. I get a little. Shout out to Big E.
I get a little moist in the pants whenever you talk about him. He is my favorite by far. My favorite non RJ player in my fandom of Jersey. I love the passion that he brought to it wasn't even what he did actually on the court. It's the way he brought the team together and really created that team atmosphere and really energize the team. That's what I loved about it. I mean, I'm a softie when it comes to that kind of stuff, and I love seeing people passionate about what they're doing. And he was the most passionate basketball because RJ, obviously legend, but RJ was doing it all on his own. He was the one taking all the criticism and everything from all the fan base and especially the trash down south taunting him and everything, and he would just go there and do his thing, look in the crowd, and be like, F you guys. Whereas Sosame was on the court.
I don't know. Harrow was pretty good about drawing the criticisms.
Listen, Ryan
encouraged it.
There's a reason why Ryan Harrow's nickname is Scrap, because basically he would get in your business. And what's just funny too is he would bother so many opposing players.
Oh yeah.
It just every single because he talked all the time. And he still does that, and it's just so funny. Daughter. Yeah, it's he never stops talking. So, and he's always, and again, I still tell people that he was the Pied Piper here, and people forget. His dad unfortunately had a stroke. Coach Hunter brought him in, and he became immediately eligible before the NCAA allowed the gates to open fully. So he was eligible immediately on that team, and he became. I mean, he's just a magician with basketball. One of the best creators I've ever seen with the basketball in his hand.
Oh, he was so much fun to watch. So much fun to watch. You kind of touched on this a little bit, but we lost 4 guys to the portal already, and you got Joe Jones going off. We're going to see a whole new team. We saw a whole new team this year. We're going to see a whole new team next year. I don't know. I don't know what the question is to ask, but it's just going to be different. It's going to be different. What do you got on this?
So I think now too, and even in the football side of things as well. But I think in the transfer portal era, you almost have to take it year to year. We're not going to see a lot of development. You're not going to see guys, in my view, in a lot of cases, stick with the program for 4 seasons because there is that autonomy. I don't have to. Hey. I don't have to go here and crap. Well, I don't want to go there and sit out for a year. I really don't want to do that. I really want to play. So I don't want to have to drop down. Those days are over, right? I get the 1 free. Now, I think the interesting part about it is watching graduate transfers now, where graduate transfers were a big deal because they got the immediate eligibility and hey, I got my degree in 3 years and I can bounce and go somewhere else. You're now seeing guys go 2 schools, 3 schools in a wave because they use the first time free and then go graduate from the next school. So I think you're going to see that. You still have basically 8 guys on the roster who were on the team this year, or you'll have 6 guys and then obviously 2 incoming. I think ultimately it will be very different looking, but I'm interested to see the puzzle pieces, right? We need guards. You need wings. You need shooting. You need another big at least. How does that all fit? Where do they come from? Are you're going after a junior college target? If you checked out PT this afternoon, I started running lists basically of transfer portal guys. There's a D2 guy that's been contacted who's averaging 20 points a game and shooting 43% from 3, who's kind of a combo guard at 6 foot. You've got guys with ties to Atlanta, and we already got the conversation. And just kind of a heads up generally. Why haven't we got any power conference guys? Because the power conference tournaments are still going on. Like the ACC just started, SEC starts tonight. They can't jump in the portal when their teams are still playing. That's kind of how that works. Just FYI. But bring all recruiting questions. I'm happy with it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's gonna be different, man. There's gonna be some different guys coming and going. But as Jonas has been pretty steadfast, is he wants guys that there's ties to Atlanta, and there's certainly a lot of guys that want to come home, as we saw with Ron Hunter and even with Coach Lanier.
Well, Ryan Graham is absolutely completely opposed to getting any local people. He wants everyone from out of state because
don't care.
He thinks he thinks they're better. He thinks everyone out of state is better than those in Georgia. So, and that goes for not just basketball, but for football and every sport we have. So
totally,
he's a negative Nancy.
He wants everyone from Florida.
So I want to hug you. I don't think there's anything better about somebody who is from here. And that if we have to expend additional resources to get somebody from Atlanta, then I'd rather have somebody from not in Atlanta. But I do think that there's a lot of opportunity in the transfer situation, and people that leave Atlanta and realize that they don't want to be away from their family or don't want to be away from the town that they grew up in and want to come back. I think that's really going to be our bread and butter. Is not making sure they don't leave, but making sure they've got a home when they want to come back.
For sure,
right? That's going to be the Georgia State.
That was RJ. I was sorry. That was Coach Hunter's thing basically. Right? He wanted to offer the guys. He wanted to offer the guys, or at least talk to the guys before they took that P5 a big
Always
offer.
Did that well.
So that if things did not work out, then they already had a relationship on somebody they could come back to. All right, we talked about basketball. I want to see it for 20 minutes. Let's because we have the spring game tomorrow.
Drew.
All right.
Ben, all right. So we got blue versus black tomorrow.
Yes.
Because the two primary colors of Georgia State.
Is that real?
All right.
Yes. Yeah, it's team black versus team blue. Yeah, no doubt.
I think it's because our roster. I think our roster is so bruised from the entire season that they had it's black and blue. Is there? I mean, what do you, as someone who actually really knows what the hell you're talking about, look for in a spring game? Because we know it's just kind of a sensationalized kind of practice for the fans and everything. But what are you going to look at? What are you going to look at for tomorrow?
Biggest thing is I look for, and it even gets more difficult because college coaches do it in a variety of different ways, right? You give it to the captains, which happened here, obviously, and saying, all right, you pick your squad and you pick your squad. And Coach Elliott adeptly in that video, which, shout out to Jet Parker and video guys and creative services. They just absolutely crushed it with the mic'd up series and everything. And I beg more, please, Jet, more, give me more, the more you can bring. But it's difficult because you look at some of the starters like on the offensive line and the defensive line, and when you split them out, you're like, all right, well then you have walk-ons playing. You have basically I think the number in the mid 60s basically in terms of scholarship players tomorrow. So you're going to have walk-ons playing. You're going to have guys backups playing. You're going to have freshmen and redshirt freshmen and redshirt sophomores playing. I think that's the interesting thing to me is, all right, who's lining up at offensive line? We knew that was an issue last year. You could potentially have 4 new starters on the offensive line this year. We had massive losses defensively. So, who's your starter safety? Who's your starter at corner? Because Quay White's not here anymore. You're looking at guys like that from the tape in the video today. Jalen Tate is a captain. He's had a tremendous spring here. Michele Colasardo, backup quarterback, had some shoulder cleanup. He's been going through spring, but he's been limited. How does Braylon Ragland look? True freshman quarterback, enrolled early. He's going to get his opportunity tomorrow. You're looking at guys up and down this roster. I'd tell you, I'm excited to see Kevin Swint, guy from Clemson, who came in, who's probably going to take that outside linebacker rush in spot and just run with it. He's a freak athlete. He's tough. The other side too, and we'll post it to PT tonight. There's 2 official visitors that are here for the 2023 class. You have D. Ford, who's out of Austin P, who led the FCS ranks in passes broken up. He's an FCS All-American. He just arrived in town, actually just sent me a DM, said he just got to Atlanta. Also, Lehigh linebacker Nate Norris is arriving tonight for an official visit. 6'1", 240, inside linebacker. I think there's a lot more linebacker depth, and you still have Blake Carroll, who's recovering from Achilles. So you're having guys and seeing, all right, some of the young guys that were on the sidelines or maybe played on special teams. Those are the guys I'm looking for and seeing what they do tomorrow. I can't wait to see Marcus Carroll. He looks unbelievable. Sam Crenshaw texted me after the first practice of spring and said he looks like he can squat a freaking house. He's huge. KZ Adams right now is in line to be running back number 2. We know all the hype that he came out of high school. Seeing him live, seeing his film, he wasn't a top speed guy. He's not a 4.4, 4.3 guy, but his agility, like from a camp point of view and L drill and all the other stuff for folks that are familiar with the camp circuit, it's off the charts. Like his athleticism and his ability to kind of shake and get out in space. And he had a couple opportunities, obviously, last year to catch the ball in the backfield and run the football. I'm looking forward to seeing what that guy looks like with 20 carries in a spring game atmosphere. Looking to see wide receivers, looking to see the tight end room. Aubrey Payne had a rough year last year, plain and simple. Was injured pretty much all season. And that gave some guys like Chris Bird and Amon Green an opportunity. I want to see what some of these guys look like. Yeah, I mean, exactly. He was like a super duper senior. Like, I mean, it was amazing. And shout out to Aubrey, and his wife. They got married. I'm like, dude, he was married in college. Come on, man.
Grandchild, yeah. All right. You guys got any questions about the spring game? I got a question.
I got to bring it up. I see some comments too. If y'all got a question, throw it out.
I got a football question. But I want to see if you guys had anything before I monopolize the talk.
No, I'll go for it, David.
Take it. It's all you.
So defensive coordinator Chad Staggs, whatever his name is,
yep.
Staggs.
Yep.
Is that a done deal? I saw all the rumors. I mean, but I haven't seen a press release. Is there a
is that
out?
So he arrives tomorrow. Or he actually arrives tonight. So he'll be entertaining obviously the official visitors because they're playing defense. So to talk to them, he's in town. And the Georgia State HR process is traditionally long. They don't really care about your spring practice or spring game or anything like that. So
yeah, I know
that kind of takes some time.
My nickname in high school was Georgia State HR process. So yeah.
Love you so much, Dave. No, but it is a done deal. I've talked to some former assistant coaches and maybe even a former defensive coordinator during the Trent Miles era about Stagg. And he's recruited Georgia. He's recruited the Southeast. Obviously his time at Coastal Carolina was very strong. Their fans, I think, may have been a little tough on him because he started basically at 60. I think his first year calling plays there, they were 62nd in the nation. The next 2 seasons, they were top 30 nationally. They had guys that, he didn't recruit, to be fair, but you still got to put them in the situation to be successful. And they were opportunistic. And I think last year kind of skews a lot. You forget that Grayson McCall missed 4 games last year. So it wasn't like their offense was humming along and it was just awesome. They had to get in shootouts in some cases because, they didn't really have the offense to do it. I'm interested to see what he does with this defense, how schematically it changes. We've seen, obviously, the non-press coverage, consistently with Fuquay, the bend, don't break. How much does that change? Schematically, it's not going to change a ton in the terms of he's not going to come in here and run a 4-2-5 or 3-3-8 or whatever. It's going to be a 3-4. But what I will give Nate Fuquay credit for, and what's something that needs to continue this year, is the pressure rate was very, very high. You saw that in the last few years. Last year, they didn't get as many sacks as they had in the previous years, but they still moved quarterbacks off their spot. They really got after quarterbacks and pressured them and moved them in situations. And we even saw last year, even in shootout games, there was a lot of opportunities for interceptions, fumbles caused, things like that. And this team had some turnover luck. And I think part of that is pressure, forcing people to be uncomfortable in space.
Were you surprised about Fuquay taking the position coach job at Cincinnati?
So all of us are gainfully employed, right? So we all, have jobs outside of this podcast and the things that we do. If I could tell you that I could coach what I wanted, I don't have to call plays. I can go to a Power 5 team and more than double my salary. Is that interesting?
I'm gone. I'm in.
Gotta go, right? Like all this stuff eventually will be public as well. But I had the question, even about Brad Glenn. Like Brad Glenn was an offensive coordinator here. And again, usatoday.com coaches salaries. You can find all this stuff. It's all public. But he was making basically around $225K here at Georgia State. He went and was the quarterback's coach and run game coordinator for Virginia Tech, and he made $500. So I'm looking at it and going, and a guaranteed deal. Josh Stepp last year, he was the offensive coordinator here, took over for Brad Glenn. Got a call from, again, Sean Elliott's roommate at App State, of all people. And you see the amount of Georgia State coaches that are up there now in Cincinnati with Brad Glenn and Josh Stepp and now Fuquay. The money's different, man. It's different at the Power 5 level. Hey, I'm going to give you a 2-year guaranteed deal for $500K a year, $1 million for 2 years. And Like, I don't know about y'all, man, but I can't go home and, rationalize, hey, I'm not going to do that because I'm going to stay.
So, that's kind of funny because, like, one of the things that you made comments about for the past 2 or 3 years when people were demanding Fuquay's head on a platter was that Elliott and Fuquay were tight. They were buddies. Elliott was never going to get rid of him no matter what. So that works one way. One way. You get to keep that job from the boss until a more lucrative boss comes around, type thing. So that's I mean, that's
sucks for
business
us.
that happens, but yeah. Well, did it?
Oh well, not this. In the former case where we keep him until he's gone. Yes,
that's true.
Yeah, but I will say this ultimately. The thing where if you go back and look at the 2019 coaching staff and the 2020 coaching staff, look at all those guys now that are at Power 5 schools. And the other two, Travian Robertson and Amon Nagavi, are at Tulane, who was just in a New York Six Bowl. So if you're an assistant coach, and I will promise you, every assistant coach, no matter what level, is, hey, I want to better my situation, right? I got into this business. I'm an FCS coach. I'm an FBS assistant. I want to go to the next. Hey, if I'm a position coach, I want to be a coordinator. I want to be a coordinator. I want to be a head coach. They want those steps. And I had a great opportunity, obviously, to know a lot of the guys on Trent Miles' staff and still stay in touch with them. And if you look at the guys, which is hysterical to me, Minter's making like $800,000 in Michigan.
Bring him back.
He makes more than Sean Elliott does.
Just bring him back anyway.
Bring him back.
And oh, by the way, like, I thought he was going to go to Philly and be the Eagles defensive coordinator and make like $1.5 million a year. So, not sure if he could convince the wife to go there. But I mean, you look at PJ Volker, who's at Navy, who's now the defensive coordinator. You look at Eric Lewis, who's at Navy. These guys have moved up from Georgia State. So it's the same thing with Sean Elliott's staff. We saw that last cycle, right? You had 5 assistant coaches take off and better their situation, pay increases. While it sucks in the present, it's great for the program long term because it's like, hey, I can go there, I can be an assistant coach even for a year or two, and jump to a bigger program.
And it's safe too. You get the cover of not being a coordinator, and just being a position coach, and you make more money and you have protection from the shitty. I don't know.
And can they can jump up to back to coordinator, right? In another P5.
No doubt about it, man. And I
think,
and that's the other side, where you're seeing, some autonomy, you're seeing some movement. And I think too, even at the Power 5 level, because the staff, restrictions have really kind of, moved. You've got guys who are going and being analysts, for example, like Nate Woody was here, the Army defensive coordinator who, designed basically the 3-4 that Fuquay ran, and
what a cool name.
Other coaches. Woody, he was here, and then Jim Harbaugh called him and said, hey, come be a defensive analyst and make a lot of more money. And oh, by the way, don't coach on the field. Just sit in our defensive meetings. Like, come on, man. Not a bad job.
All right, Ben, I know we only have you for a minute or two left. I want to get one of our patron questions. Taylor, I know Marcus and KZ are going to be the main guys, but what about running back 3? I feel like that has to be discussed considering how much they run the ball. Good question.
Great question, Taylor. Shout out, former PT intern, Taylor Payton, my man, from Henry County.
He's our dude too, man. Every week.
Love TP, man. He's the best. He truly is, and ran through a wall for me over and over again as a PT intern. It was awesome. I like Jay Dixon a lot. Was a guy that basically redshirted as a true freshman. Played in the smallest division in South Carolina, so I think that was a big part of him not getting a lot of recruiting buzz. Came in here, had a really good spring game last year. Had 10, 12 carries. He's a speedy back, a guy that kind of can be that combo. I think you're going to see Marcus as obviously number 1, KZ as number 2, as you said. I think Jay Dixon's a guy for sure. I think you got to look at a guy like Charlie Pace. I like him a lot coming out of Colquitt. He is a true freshman. This is not a knock to running backs in general, but ultimately the running back position is one of the easier to come in there and run the football. Now, it's a lot harder to kind of understand blocking assignments and things like that. But as we know, this is a run-first offense, and ultimately, you can come in there and run behind an offensive line that has been completely rebuilt and has a lot more depth. That's the one thing that I'm really looking forward to as well. I'm looking at guys like Tyden Ferris and, looking to see who lines up left guard, right guard, who comes in and replaces Malik Sumter, Pat Bartlett. These positions have to be filled this season, and we have to know who is where and who ultimately has got to protect Darren Granger, because he did get pressured and sacked a lot more last year than he did in the previous year. So, but I like Jay Dixon a lot. I think he's kind of the guy there. I think Charlie Pace is a guy that can come in and a bonus for you as well. I talked to a preferred walk-on who will be announcing his commitment. He was at practice earlier this week and kind of gave me a rundown. Name to watch: former 3-star Ali Abdul Hakim out of Riverdale High School. Shout out to Ali. Outside linebacker, kind of a weak side kind of safety in the drop there. He's a guy that will likely be announcing his commitment very, very soon. That's just an exclusive for you guys here on the pod.
Right.
And so give him a shout out and give him some love when he goes public. He was formerly an Army commit, and he's an intern for the Clayton County Police Department. So shout out to those guys. So does his darndest as a high school senior, and plans to enroll in June and have an opportunity to earn a scholarship. So excited to see that. And he gave us the rundown on the defensive line. I'll keep some of his notes private for now, but looking forward to seeing everybody.
We'll see tomorrow.
Yeah, and that's it. He'll be there tomorrow. It's a big recruiting day. I've already seen some guys on Twitter and other places pop off that they're going to show up on Thursday night. It's not everyone's fall break in Metro Atlanta. I know it's kind of staggered around, but would love to see as many Panther fans as we can get out there. I hear the tailgate from what Dave said is 3:30, so we're getting that
3:30
started.
We'll be out there.
On
the bricks.
I just tell people, man, I know last year sucked. It was brutal to lose the way we did.
Tailgate didn't suck. I'll tell you that.
It didn't. It's always
W's all the way around.
Undefeated, man. Listen, never taking a loss out there.
Well, Ben, I'll tell you, man. Really, we talked about this quite a bit on the podcast because we repeat ourselves a lot because we're drunk and we forget what we talk about.
It's true.
Honestly, you take this season as it happened, and you fix the loss against Charlotte and you fix the loss against Monroe.
You're in the bowl game again.
Yeah, right. Yeah. We're kind of where it was kind of our bottom expectation, but we would.
Right.
I think we would end up feeling a lot better about everything. It was just those two. And those were two games that when you look at the schedule, those were the wins you had. Like, hell, the way that the season worked out, Southern Miss should have been a loss, but we won that game.
Blasted them. It was their worst loss of the season by far. Like, literally manhandled them on offense and defense. Yes. And so had a second half lead against South Carolina. Had a fourth quarter lead at home against North Carolina.
Yeah. Exactly.
Those are the gut punches that hurt the worst, right? You're not getting blown out 45-3. You're getting beat, close.
Ed posted on on PantherTalk. He started a thread today or yesterday, maybe it was about the 4-point games, 1 touchdown games. For what it was, if you flip flopped all of those games, we would have been 8-4 on the season.
Correct. Yep.
Granted, as you noted, that would have been a loss to the trash down south. So screw that whole process. But still,
all right, throw out Ed's. Let's
not do it.
No, just kidding.
He has no idea what he's talking about. All right, Ben, we're gonna let you go, and I know you get the fam. We appreciate it, man. Always welcome here. Love having you. You provide many hours of content. So
appreciate y'all, man. Love y'all, boys. See y'all tomorrow. I'm gonna try to get down there a little early with y'all and hang out. I'm coming from the office near Perimeter Mall. So shout out to y'all and everything you do.
All right.
I'll have a Capri.
Thanks, Ben.
I'll have a Capri Sun waiting for you, man.
My man. Appreciate it. Love, boys.
See you, Ben.
Bye.
All right. Always fun with Ben.
Could we at least get him like a 0 ABV beer or something? I don't know.
Whatever. What's a gateway beer? Like a gateway, like non-alcoholic beer. You have to drive down to Peachtree City.
O'Doul's is the non-alcoholic beer.
I have all of my wife's pregnancy beer, like all her NA beer, up in my beer fridge, taking up space, preventing me from actually putting real beer in there. I was forced to put beer in the food fridge because I didn't have room because of all the NA beer in the beer fridge. All right, it is bullshit. All right.
Whoa, calm down.
Speaking of bullshit, what did Ben say that was bullshit?
Well, when asked about running back 3, I think he listed every running back.
It's Darren Granger. RB3.
And I was sort of like, is there anyone else available? Like at
Coach
all?
Coach Elliott's gonna use the RB3 on the outside.
That's sort of where I was like, hey, you
kind of ran through the entire roster right there.
Yeah, I mean, and it's fair. What I think he means to say is it's wide open and that there is talent that is available, and we don't know who's going to fill that gap, but probably someone will.
Right.
That's what I heard. That's what I actually heard.
Yeah, I mean, how important is RB3 when you've got the guys that we've got and a quarterback that runs the ball?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that's totally fair. But I think you got to spread the ball around. Otherwise, people get tired, they get hurt, they get whatever, and so you want to be able to spread the ball around. 3 people, right? You got a quarterback, a running back 1, running back 2. That's a lot of people. So running back 3, you're right. It's just going to be like a change of pace, change of pace. I mean,
somebody lost their helmet
on. It's going to be McKelly.
Oh no! If we have McKelly as a running back, something's gone horribly wrong in this program.
Matt Ryan got wheels.
He's got
Matt Ryan. When I've said it before, I'll say it again. Whenever Matt Ryan broke away and ran the ball, I was like, "Did someone hit pause on the TV?"
It's broken.
And I'm a Matt Ryan fan. I love Matt Ryan.
Yeah,
but man, the guy.
He did throw that little nugget.
Georgia fan as well here. Matthew Stafford comes to mind. He would break away.
Best friends.
I'd watch him go, and I'd be like, "What the hell is happening right now?"
Matt Ryan and Stafford are best buddies, best good friends.
Good. They belong with each other.
Ben did throw a little nugget in there that McKelly is having some shoulder issues.
I didn't hear that.
That was that was posted on. I saw it on PT today about he had some medical stuff going on and everything. I don't know if we'll actually see him play tomorrow or today if you're listening to the podcast versus the live stream, which is I do want to see him play. I don't know. McKelly may be one of those like guys that we think would be really, really awesome and would not be, but we won't see him play, so we have no idea.
Well, is he still our QB2?
We'll see. I mean, like Braylon Ragland, like Ben pointed out coming in, which Bartlett Panthers, my area where I grew up, where I would have gone to school if I had not moved to Atlanta, would have been to Bartlett. I think one of my sisters has got me a Bartlett Panthers T-shirt. I said I was gonna wear it on the podcast, but I haven't gotten it yet.
You should wear it tomorrow.
I haven't gotten it yet. I'd be wearing it right now if I had it.
I thought you just had misplaced it. I didn't realize you hadn't received it.
Which because I'm thinking about this as I'm saying this. My sister was in town like 2 weeks ago. Why didn't she bring it to me? Sisters are horrible. Don't have any if you have the opportunity.
I got one.
I got one.
Right.
Cool.
Actually, yeah, your sister's pretty great because she likes to make fun of you, and I like that. So
no.
We had Tim's. Well, this is more of a last call type thing. We had Tim's sister come on like post after party last call, like 2 years ago, and we got all the deets on Tim
during the pandemic.
Yeah, it was fun. Yeah, during the pandemic, when we started doing the whole thing by the live stream, it was fun. All right, we've been doing this for a minute. Hit up a couple of things real quick. Baseball is killing it. Home run kings, like
ridiculous.
The Bud Lot boys, right?
The Bud Lot boys, yes. Thanks to Sideline Sports for messing up the nickname of the Bus Lot boys, but yes, and thank you to Tim for hitting that up on Twitter with the response. But yeah, they were killing it. They lost to Presbyterian in like a bottom of the ninth type situation, and then came back and beat them 20-0.
They're like, you should have done that. Bam.
We will not go into the dark. We will not take this lightly. Like, you score, what was it? They scored 4 runs in the bottom of the ninth to win an 8-9 game. And so we responded in the same day, this is a doubleheader. In the same day, they respond with a 20-0 rout of Presbyterian.
No,
I actually thought it was an error at Georgia State, so I went and actually looked up the score again. Just because we'll sometimes tweet stuff out wrong.
but
you fat fingered.
We're still number 11 in homers, right? For the
we dropped to 11. We were 8th. We were 8th in homers. We dropped to 11th in homers in all of college baseball.
It's wild. That's wild to me. Like I just can't imagine being sad about that at all. But like also, holy shit, there are some people out there like hitting some homers.
Yeah.
Do you know who number 2 is?
I don't know. What do you want?
Well, I guess you would start. You should start that conversation with. Do you know who number 1 is? Because number 2.
I saw Troy on the list. They were tied for the next up. But there was no other Sunbelt team. I don't believe.
Old Dominion is number 2 in home runs. Yeah,
see. I barely count them now. I see Old Dominion. I don't consider them Sunbelt yet. Are they Sunbelt for all sports?
Yeah. They have been for the entire
year.
They
joined the conference.
I mean, like literally the only team that joined. The only team that joined the conference that there's any question about is James Madison because they're the football move up. But they qualify in all other sports for everything, and
that's fine. I tried, man.
Season.
I tried. Okay, ODU and Troy were the only ones in front of us, but like weirdly, like Sunbelt, we're hitting homers in the Sunbelt.
Yeah. It'll be interesting when the conference schedule starts getting to play and see how we beat up on each other. But this, I mean, I think we've had a good baseball squad going on. We've got to get down there. We say this. We say this. We've said this every year since we've been doing the podcast, and we've gone to one game, right, Tim? We've got to get down there. We've got to get down there. We got to tailgate, and we've got to cheer these guys on. It'll be so much easier. So much easier when they're in Summerhill, man.
And if we're winning a lot.
No, I'll go anyways, man. I've gone to a lot of losing.
I do feel like
I've gone to a lot of losing football games this season. I went to a lot of losing basketball.
I feel like in baseball we do often start strong. Like every year it feels like we feel like we've done really well and that we're doing really well in our out of conference slate, and then we hit the conference schedule and we're just like, I don't know, it just comes apart. It's not the same team that we've been watching, and so I really hope that this is different. And it feels different because they are really like demolishing. I mean, but I don't know.
We're losing games by 1 or 2 runs, and then like winning games by like 16, 20 runs.
Right.
Yeah. Well, we've got a good series coming up this weekend. We're playing at Clemson for a 3-game series. I think that'll be a good kind of basis to see where we are at with this program. But I think that we've got a good baseball program that we really need to be more into, and I need to be more into. Maybe if I would stop having kids, I'd have more time to go to games or something.
It helps.
So. I think you took care of that, right? So we can go now.
Well, once they grow up, give me 18 years, and then when I get all of them moved out of the house.
Don't kids love baseball games? Just take all 3. No.
Then I gotta watch all 3 kids. God, come on.
Bring a babysitter.
Watch the big one watches the middle one. Watches the little one.
I'll bring Tim. Tim will be my babysitter. He'll watch the kids for me, and then that's what I heard at least. So, one other thing to talk about, going back a little bit, is spring tour was announced, and there was absolutely no problems with that at all. Right?
Is that a schedule you don't have problems with?
There are no schedule issues?
No scheduling issues with the spring tour at all. They will be playing a baseball game at Center Park Stadium. Is that how it ended up?
They're doing renovations. That's what you're saying. They gotta pull out all the stands.
Do you guys not remember the conversation we had on the group chat?
Yes.
I'm catching up.
Was that an email that went out? Not a tweet or anything like that?
An email went out about the spring tour, and we've got one of the events is going to be at Coolray Field. Another is going to be at the park, and they listed the park being where UGA would be playing Georgia State in baseball.
Yeah.
When in fact, that's happening at Coolray. So
yeah, it'd be weird to go to Coolray without the game.
I know, just like let's just have a let's just go up to a minor league.
Right? It's Gwinnett.
Come to the suite to watch the grass grow on the field. That's it.
Let's go to a minor league baseball program and just have a meeting, and then let's go to a football stadium and watch a baseball game. Yeah,
seems right. Seems accurate. Did you ever get any response about that at all?
Yeah, the response I got was, "There's always something."
Yeah,
I'm like,
that's funny because it's true.
That's athletics' way of saying GSUing it, you know?
Yeah, exactly. That's awesome. That's actually awesome. I they've embraced it.
There's always something. All right. We've been doing for way too long, guys. You ready to call it quits on this week? 51 minutes. All right. You guys got anything else? I got others to talk about. Good.
We talk about last call. Let's do it.
I have more notes. We can talk about the show. All right, cool. All right. Thank you to everybody for listening. You can sorry. Not going to edit this. Thank you very much for listening. We are going to continue the conversation on our last call, which is on our Patreon page at patreon.com/State of Atlanta, free of charge on Fridays, immediately released to our Patreon members. Please consider joining. You get early access. You also get access to our private group chat with our Patreon members, which is the best part of the whole thing, as well as discounts on merchandise and whatever other stuff we do. So please consider joining that. Say goodbye, guys.
Goodbye, guys.
Peace.